Tracy Sabol tonight on EWTN News Nightly, seeking a second term.
Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away?
President Joe Biden highlights his support for abortion in the final State of the Union before the November elections. Changing the Constitution. France officially becomes the first country to make abortion a constitutional right. By other European countries may follow. A full day. Learn more about a 24-hour Vatican initiative for Lent. And Film for the Faithful. A movie about a Catholic saint opens nationwide today. Executive producer Eduardo Verastegui tells us about Mother Cabrini. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Well, thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. John of God Confessor, our top story tonight. One day after his State of the Union speech, which was praised by some and criticized by others, President Joe Biden hit the campaign trail. So did his vice president, taking her pro-abortion tour on the road again. The president's campaign says that in the coming days, the president and vice president will visit every major swing state. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, tonight the race for the White House really heating up now after last night's State of the Union address, which included a mix of drama, booing, cheering, and even some admonishing. Now, in addition to visiting swing states, the Biden campaign is launching a $30 million six-week advertising campaign as it tries to go on the offensive against former President Donald Trump. And will the two debate? Well, tonight it looks like a maybe.
President Joe Biden on his way to Pennsylvania and Georgia for campaign events. Asked by a reporter if he'd commit to a debate with former President Trump.
It depends on his behavior.
And Vice President Kamala Harris heads off to Arizona to hold another Fight for Reproductive Freedoms event. And it was abortion that got plenty of attention last night when President Biden admonished the Supreme Court.
Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
But March for Life posts on X, Roe v. Wade has killed over 60 million children. That's not something anyone should want to restore. On immigration, President Biden demanded, send me the border bill now.
In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh?
Republican Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska posted this video calling the speech a huge missed opportunity.
Why? Because some of the biggest issues that we have in this country that the American people are very concerned about, the open border, the Biden administration, he didn't take any responsibility, didn't have a plan, blamed Republicans.
But Congressman Steny Hoyer said the president was on top of his game.
I think anybody who watched that speech saw a very strong, focused, knowledgeable individual who was having no trouble having repartee with some of his detractors.
And while President Biden took several swipes at Donald Trump in his speech, the former president's campaign posting this video.
Members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Now, tonight, cabinet secretaries and senior White House officials are also hitting the road with their own post-State of the Union travel blitz to amplify the president's message. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump's campaign looking to flip Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona after he lost in those states back in 2020. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, as promised at President Biden's State of the Union address, the U.S. military is preparing to set up a temporary aid station off of Gaza's coast. Aid into Gaza has decreased sharply since the Israel-Hamas war began 5 months ago. Although in recent days, the U.S. has been airdropping supplies. At least 20 people have died from malnutrition and dehydration due to cutoffs from food supply services. Let's bring in John Elliott, managing partner at Brighton Strategies Group and former national security spokesman and a Marine Corps veteran. John, good to have you with us today.
Great. Thanks for having me back, Tracy.
Absolutely. So tell us, how big of an undertaking is this, and how can this be done, as President Biden said, with no boots on the ground?
Well, that's the absolute question, Tracy, because we do not want to be drawn into anything to do with Gaza in terms of what he said, boots on the ground. But let's be very careful about what he was saying there, because boots on the ground implies that there's going to be no military there, because those are the ones who theoretically wear quote unquote combat boots. But does that mean that we wouldn't have engineers there working on putting this pier, is what it's called? It's sort of a port, but it's really a pier that goes across. How can you build that without having experts on the ground? So presumably what he's talking about is it could be U.S. contractors. There's also a group that is based in Switzerland and is an international group, but is run by some former military from the U.S., and they might have some people from other countries do it for us, but it'll be under the direction of this private company. Bottom line is that there's no way to build this without having some experts on the ground. And then you get into a situation like we had in the early 80s with Beirut under Ronald Reagan, where we had a mission of Marines there and they were a target. So we don't want to have even our contractors, U.S. contractors, be targets there, because it's a meat grinder there, literally, because you've got Hamas, evil group that is hiding behind civilians. They would love to be able to kill Americans when they can.
Yeah, and that's a huge, huge challenge right there. So how do they combat that? I mean, what can they do to, prevent getting into some kind of conflict with, Hamas or another hostile actor?
Well, the U.S. has had 3 military operators killed, military troops killed from the proxies from Iran, and Hamas is obviously one of their biggest proxies, but they have already killed 3 Americans, and so they'd love to do it again. They had over 175 attacks since October 7th on U.S. forces in different bases across the region. So this is very much of a knife's edge, and it's very dangerous what Biden is talking about. He's saying because he is getting flack from his left, from people who are activists within his party, and he needs to show that he is sympathetic to providing more humanitarian aid to Gazans, he's running a real risk that he's putting our troops or our contractors right in on a knife's edge there, where they could, for very little reason, become the victim of a terrorist attack.
What about Israel? What are they saying about this?
Okay, Israel, in the opinion of many analysts, including myself, should be allowed to run the war. That would be the most efficient way to get it done quickly and not get other countries pulled in, including the U.S. So Israel was initially wary, and I think remains wary, because why would they want to have a bunch of ships coming in? They'd all come from Cyprus, because you never know what's going to be in there, what's going to be smuggled in there. There are going to be weapons, there are going to be bombs and other things that Hamas could use to target them. So the Israelis late today said that they were going to have security measures put in place in Cyprus, where there'd be very thorough inspections to the Israeli level of thoroughness, and they'd actually be done by Israeli personnel before any of these ships came down to this port that we're building. And let's face it, the port's going to take months to build. So right now there's going to be some amphibious craft that can take some, that's going to start in the next few days, but to actually build the port or the pier is going to take some time. So we'll see, but it's very costly and it's very risky to do so.
All right, John, thank you so much for coming on and weighing in. So much more we could talk about, but we have to wrap it up. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, earlier today, former President Trump posted a bond of nearly $92 million in the defamation case brought against him by writer E. Jean Carroll, and in the same filing, appealed the ruling. It was in January that a federal jury decided the former president must pay more than $83 million in damages. Today, an insurance company underwrote the bond in that amount and an additional $8 million. A district court usually requires a party to post 110% of the bond. As he campaigns for the presidency, Trump also faces 4 criminal cases and fees associated with those cases. The Republican National Committee has new leadership starting today. After 7 tumultuous years as chair, Ronna McDaniel stepped down. Her decision to leave comes after months of rising tensions between the former president and the RNC. North Carolina GOP Chairman Michael Whatley and Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, will now serve as the organization's administration's new chair and co-chair. Well, some mixed news in the job report released today. Employers added 275,000 jobs last month, showcasing resilience in the face of high interest rates. But the employment rate ticked up 0.2 of a point to 3.9%. The 275,000 added jobs in February is more than the adjusted number of 229,000 from January. Still, many Americans say they are unhappy with the state of the economy, as average prices remain about 17% above where they were 3 years ago. The acting labor secretary says that you have to look at the big picture.
So that unemployment rate is still under 4%. It's been under 4% now for 2 years running. That's the longest stretch in 50 years. And as you mentioned, not only are people in the labor market, it's a sign of trust and hope, it's also real wages have gone up. They've been better than inflation, which means more spending money in the pockets of working families. That's a good thing.
Well, a new controversy on Capitol Hill. There is an internal Senate Republican battle over earmarks in the government funding package. Some say that it could cause a partial government shutdown. Conservatives are demanding these projects be removed. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has that story. Eric.
Yes, good evening, Tracy. Get this, there are over 6,000 earmarks and special projects stuffed into the huge minibus that funds 6 government agencies. They're costing American taxpayers almost $13 billion. Conservatives are crying out, and they're calling attention to what they say is a blatant waste of taxpayer money.
$963,000, nearly $1 million, to Georgetown University. Now, Georgetown University has an endowment. Just in its endowment alone is over $3.2 billion. Why are we giving that to Georgetown? $2.5 million for outdoor recreation, specifically kayaking and slalom activities for the town of Franklin, New Hampshire.
But there's more, much more. $1 million for an environmental justice center in New York City, $3.5 million for a Thanksgiving parade in Michigan, and $1 million for building improvements to a San Francisco social justice center.
Should the federal government be using our taxpayer dollars to fund some of these projects?
Well, of course not. And that's why these need to come to the Senate floor one at a time, and us be able to take out them by an amendment process.
But not all Republicans are opposed to earmarks as long as they serve a national need.
So if it is helping to build a stretch of interstate highway, which needs more capacity to take people between places in my state and between states, that's a good use. If it is something which is ridiculous, and we know what ridiculous can look like, it shouldn't be there.
This week, conservatives pushed a resolution to condemn earmarks and reaffirm the earmark ban Congress has observed for 10 years.
These earmarks are, it's like cocaine. I mean, it's addictive. It's cocaine for politicians. I mean, spending crack. It's got to stop.
House Democratic leadership defended earmarks, saying it's part of the appropriations process.
And so I do think it's important in a very modest way, which is the case connected to community-funded projects that are heavily vetted to make sure that they are equitable and effective and efficient.
And that's the thing. Lawmakers say that these earmarks have not been vetted. The Senate Republican Conference still has a rule banning earmarks, but it's non-binding, which means members are still allowed to request them if they want them. 16 Republicans, including some in leadership, have put in millions of dollars in earmarks. The Senate GOP conference will meet on March 18th before the next funding bill to pass. And conservative lawmakers tell me that they plan to seek to reimpose a ban on earmarks. The current funding bill is expected to pass and go to the President Biden's desk and signed into law. However, it's still unclear on when that vote will take place. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
And staying on Capitol Hill, a measure that could lead to a ban on social media giant TikTok is gaining momentum. For months, lawmakers have voiced concerns about the potential for the platform to monitor and manipulate Americans. Now, the U.S. House has taken the first move. A bill which passed out of committee by a vote of 50-0 would require the owner of Beijing-based TikTok to divest the platform within 180 days of the enactment of the bill, or the app will be prohibited here in the United States. TikTok is one of the most widely used apps in the U.S. with more than 150 million monthly users. The bill is due on the floor as early as next week. Abortion is now officially a constitutional right in France. The ceremony this morning capped off a week that saw lawmakers overwhelmingly approve the measure without significant opposition. French President Emmanuel Macron called the guaranteed right to abortion, quote, a necessity. He is now calling on other European nations to follow suit and even proposed including the right to abortion in the European Union's charter. Security forces in Nigeria are searching for nearly 300 children who were abducted from their school. It is the second mass kidnapping in the African nation this week. No group has claimed responsibility so far. Locals say that it was likely done by bandits who carry out killings and abductions for huge ransoms. Well, Hong Kong has unveiled a new proposal that threatens life in prison for residents found guilty of endangering national security.
條例草案嘅建議係採取咗以下嘅原則。
The bill is expected to pass easily, perhaps in just a matter of weeks. This is seen as the latest crackdown on opposition voices ever since widespread pro-democracy protests back in 2019. Since then, leading advocates like Catholic Jimmy Lai have been put in prison under national security laws. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including opening day. Learn more about the true story of the first U.S. citizen to become a saint. We talked to one of the executive producers of the movie Cabrini. And Pope Francis invites the faithful to put forgiveness at the center of the church. On this International Women's Day, a movie about America's first saint, a female, debuts in theaters. Produced by Angel Studios, Cabrini tells the incredible story of Frances Xavier Cabrini, also known as Mother Cabrini, the patron saint of immigrants. It chronicles her journey from Italy to America and how she made it her life's mission to take care of the most vulnerable in New York and beyond.
Open your eyes. See everything. This is who will come to serve.
And here to tell us more about Cabrini, the movie, he is one of the executive producers, Eduardo Verastegui. Eduardo, great to have you back. We appreciate it. So tell us the significance of releasing this movie on International Women's Day and why that was so important.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. Well, you know, we are, this is an opportunity for us to honor the most beautiful creation of God, which is women, to honor our mothers and our sisters. And, you know, what better day than today, International Women's Day, to honor women that, for me, the true feminist movement is women empowered by God. Because every woman that has God in the center of their lives, whatever they touch, you know, growth, whatever they touch, miracles happen because it's God through them, operating God through them. And that's what we see in Mother Cabrini, this wonderful story of this incredible, brave woman from Italy who moved to the United States when immigrants from Italy were living, literally, rats were living in better conditions than the kids from Italy who were living outside of New York. And this woman came here, you know, against political corruption. She was confronting, you know, organized crime. She was confronting, everything was against her, but she never gave up. And she ended up building hospitals, orphanages. She became the first American canonized saint. She is the patron of the immigrants. And my hope as a filmmaker, and the hope of Alejandro Monteverde, the director of this film, and Eustace Wolfington and Leo Severino, the whole team, is that when people see this movie, they will leave, especially women, they will leave not only entertained, but inspired to become more like Cabrini and less than Barbie.
Yeah, you know, I saw it. It's an excellent movie. I'm going to take my daughter to see it as well. And she had so many incredible obstacles in her life, but she just kept going. And what an inspiration. What does she mean to you, Eduardo?
Well, an amazing role model. I mean, saints are, as a, you know, practicing Catholic, they're my brothers and sisters, older brothers and sisters in the faith, spiritually speaking. And we are living very difficult times today. You know, I just saw a friend the other day who, you know, she was depressed, and I asked her, you know, what's going on? I don't know, you know, I just, for some reason, I don't have so many followers on my social media. And I said, what? And she was literally depressed, and she was complaining because she doesn't have enough likes. And I told her, you know, you need to see Cabrini. You need to go and see Cabrini because you need to understand that life is not about having likes on Instagram, you know? And this woman at that time, when women didn't have a voice, didn't have, I mean, literally, they didn't have a chance in pursuing their dreams. And look what she did. She overcome everything. And not just for women, for men in general. She is a role model. She is the patron of the immigrants. I was an immigrant here in the United States for many years when I moved to pursue my American dream. I'm from Mexico, moved here when I was 28, lived here for, I'm in Miami right now, so I lived here for almost, 15 years before I moved back to Mexico. And those 15 years were very difficult in the beginning. I didn't speak English. Then my English was broken. Still, I think it's a broken English, just like Mother Cabrini when she came to America. She didn't speak English, but she immersed herself in the culture, in the language. I remember, there's one scene where she says, now we're in America, we speak English. And she tried everything to become an American in the legal way, which I think this is very important. It's not about immigration, it's about immigrants, people who come here to this country to make this world a better place. And she came to help her people. And right now we have 60 million Hispanics living in this country, in the United States, and many of them are living in conditions that are not the best conditions. So she's an amazing inspiration for me to imitate her in everything that she does, that she did. I think for me, she's alive. She's not, saints are more alive than us. And I just, my biggest, how would I say this? I think the most important thing about this movie is to understand one thing. The movie came out today, but every ticket, not 10%, not 20%, but 100% of the profit is going to be destined to help the poor and to continue this legacy of Mother Cabrini. So it's very important for people to see that when they're buying tickets. I hope they will live entertained, and I hope they will live inspired, but their contribution, 100% of the profits is to help the poor and to continue the legacy of Mother Cabrini.
Well, that is beautiful. Eduardo, thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about this, and thank you for doing this movie. It's a gift to all of us. Thank you. God bless.
Well, God bless you. Thank you. Please, everyone, go see Cabrini, and if you like it, please tell everyone to see it. God bless you. Thank you.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, 24 hours for the Lord. Learn why some churches will be leaving their doors open all day. Lawmakers in Connecticut are considering a measure to consider human composting as a burial method. The U.S. bishops have said composting fails to respect human remains in accordance with church teaching. A similar measure last year failed to advance. 6 states have legalized human composting. Well, finally tonight, this weekend marks the annual 24 Hours for the Lord. The initiative began 11 years ago from Pope Francis and is focused on confession and adoration. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andreas Tannhauser has more.
Per favore. Please, the sacrament of penance is not for torturing, but for giving peace. Forgive everything, as God will forgive you. Everything, 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 everything.
That was a message to the faithful from last year's 24 Hours for the Lord. Observed annually in dioceses worldwide, this Lenten initiative of prayer and reconciliation is celebrated on the eve of the 4th Sunday of Lent. The year's theme, Walking in a New Life, is taken from chapter 6 of St. Paul's letters to the Romans. Churches are encouraged to take the extraordinary step of keeping their doors open continuously, starting tonight and throughout tomorrow. It will offer the faithful the opportunity to go to confession and to pause for adoration at any time.
Let us recognize once more the primacy of grace and ask for the gift to realize that reconciliation is not primarily our drawing near to God, but His embrace that enfolds, astonishes, and overwhelms us.
Pope Francis presided over the 11th edition of the 24 Hours for the Lord in St. Pius V Parish, located only 2 miles from the Vatican. During the celebration, the faithful were able to receive the sacrament of reconciliation, and some even had their confessions heard by the Holy Father himself. This event falls during the Pope's recently declared Year of Prayer for the Jubilee 2025. As a way to prepare, the Dicastery for Evangelization has made pastoral aides available to assist in personal prayer and community celebrations. In Rome, Andreas Tonhauser, EWTN News Nightly.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night and God bless.